And it also, another thing that was my error thinking, is that I thought, well, if I forgive people, then that means somebody that it was a very toxic situation, that I have to go back and have an ongoing permanent relationship with them. I thought, I don't want to. Why? That's not a fact either. Forgiveness has nothing to do with having to reestablish an ongoing, present time relationship with somebody. All those things may or may not happen in the process of forgiveness, depending on what's truly good, what's true in the flow of life, what's honoring yourself, and truly honoring the other person or the situation. Those things may occur, but they have nothing to do with forgiveness at the spiritual level. You with me? All right. So when I started being able to go, oh, I get it. That's not and some people will say that's what it is. Well, that's just not correct. It's not metaphysically or spiritually correct. It's not what forgiveness is. What forgiveness is about love. It's about giving love to yourself, to the situation, to other persons involved in return for error. It's about knowing that God is bigger than the hurt. Again, like I said, at least the reason I held on to hurts was because I thought it's me, myself, and I that's got to protect myself here. So I'm going to get out there and be big and get a big shield. Doesn't work. What does work is to develop spiritually and to realize that the love of God is bigger than the hurt. That God was there whenever what it was happened, that God is here now, and that God will be there in the future. So when I can give it to God and put it in God's love, what begins to happen is that I get freed up, right? And I free up that other person. Why? Because I'm getting the healing. I'm realizing who I am is good. I'm realizing who I am is worthy. I'm realizing that who I am is protected and safe. And therefore, I'm not hooking up with a consciousness of harm. I'm not hooking up with a consciousness of toxicity. I am walking in a different consciousness. I'm walking in a consciousness of love. So this brings us to that part about God can only forgive us if we forgive other people. What's that about? It's about what consciousness am I living in, right? It's not that God won't. It's that we can't accept God's love for us and God's forgiveness for us until and unless we're willing to let God's big love be big enough that we're living in a consciousness of love so that that stuff doesn't stick, right? We get hurt because we are matching energy with toxicity. That's not a bad thing. It's a human thing. It's a newsflash that'll cost you 5 cents. We all do it, right? We all do it because it's human. That's the human deal. So spiritual growth is about learning one thought at a time, just like what you were sharing with us, Patrick. The work that you do on many levels, and I know you do it on many levels, on the energy level and on your attitudes, your thoughts, your actions, on your spirit. It's on many levels, on the soul level. What happens is that we, one bit at a time, release that chain to toxicity. We release that sense that I'm this little self that's somehow unworthy or somehow just completely vulnerable. And we begin to move into that space of the Christ nature. And we begin to move into that space of love and faith. And all that stuff starts to drop off. So that the connections that we have with ourselves are connections of love, of worthiness. And the connections that we have with other people are more and more Christ to Christ. And so stuff that is unhealthy, stuff that is toxic, stuff that is attacking, simply really doesn't engage with us. It either just goes away or it bounces off. The opportunity then in what spiritual growth is about is to always expand our capacity to live from the place of love. That's how we can live, move, and have our being in God. That's how it is that we can say, I walk in places that I'm called to walk in, and I'm protected. I'm safe. That's how Jesus could walk through life in so many arenas, and he could be safe. He could release it, not because he was pretending, but because he really knew who he was. He really knew that love was the answer. He really knew what we were singing, that God's good all the time, right?